Going on down to AfterBuzz, gonna talk your favorite show.
Friendly hosts everywhere, humble talks without flirtation.
Going on down to AfterBuzz, gonna see my favorite host.
Ample thoughts day or night, people shouting but never fighting.
Heading on up to AfterBuzz, gonna hope we don't ramble.
We like those with big fat titties, man, I hope this show ain't shitty.
Come on down to AfterBuzz and meet some hosts of mine.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Weeks ago, the gang of me, Phil Svitek, Steph Sabraw, and Christian Bladt ranked our favorite episodes from the first seasons of South Park. Now we return to finish things off, because that's what we do, by ranking the latter half of South Park seasons. Now you get to sit back, enjoy, and disagree with every opinion we've ever had.
That's why we're here.
That's what we do.
The opposition.
That's on Wednesday nights. You disagree. All right, so to get everyone back in the spirit, this is seasons 11 through 20. We will not be ranking 21. We save that for later. And we each get 3 picks with an honorable mention, starting with the 3rd pick, and we build all the way to pick number 1. So to kick us off, Christian, I have you first in my order.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Well, because obviously we don't look at gender issues and we don't feel like we should go ladies first. We should just go based on merit. Black Friday is my 3rd choice. It is the 7th episode from season 17. And you'll notice as we go through my picks, I, in 2 cases, have chosen basically episodes that are trilogies. We can just focus on the first one, but I know that we talked about this one not that long ago when we did our best of Randy Marsh. Best of Stan we've never done because I think it doesn't exist, but best of Randy, because Randy, I mean, I think that this episode actually was nominated for an Emmy, but I think that Stan... Why am I keep calling Randy Stan?
Because Randy wants to be like Stan.
Yeah, he does. Randy should have been nominated for at least an Emmy, if not an Oscar, even though it's a TV show, because he's just so epic in this. And I mean, just starting, the whole, like, the combination of Black Friday, as the title implies, and like, I don't even watch Game of Thrones, and I thought it was all funny. I mean, just all the, all the references and all that. But the "Stop Touching Me, Elmo," as we were cycling through the pictures, I just started laughing again all over. And I don't know. I don't know about anybody on the panel and people watching. I personally have never done any Black Friday shopping outside, except for on my laptop. And I see it, and to me, it looks like this, people getting trampled at Walmart for a "Stop Touching Me, Elmo." And I don't understand. It's like, oh, you saved like $20 on a TV that cost $300 more than the TV you would have bought. Great. But anyway, it's a perfect example of how Trey and Matt are able to, take a really biting commentary on our society, mix in plenty of pop culture, and just absolutely ridiculous things. And this is amongst my all-time favorites. I was thinking back on this, and believe it or not, this episode is 5 years old. That's how long ago this was already. I don't know, and I'm a big fan. I don't remember. Steph, does this show up later on a list for you?
Yes, it definitely does.
So we'll talk more about it then.
I love this episode.
Because when we put these lists together, Phil sent his in, and then I sent mine in, and then all of a sudden Steph was like, oh, Christians look good. I'm going to just mix those up. Oh my
gosh, no, not at all.
Well done, Heidi.
I just like these episodes because they're good episodes.
Have you ever even watched this show?
Oh my.
Well, which is your number 3 pick, Steph?
Okay, it's about last night.
Ooh,
Christian,
what happened last
and
night?
You didn't pick that, so
I didn't.
This was from season 12, episode 12, and this was following the election. And kind of to your point, this was a great example of how South Park can mix social commentary and political commentary and just mix it into this huge joke. And it has Obama and McCain and Michelle Obama, and they're right after the election, they're doing like a whole heist where they're stealing stuff, and the town is freaking out and super divided between Republicans and Democrats. And I just think it did such a good job of depicting how people actually act, especially this election, not even that election, the election at that time.
Right. Well, I was just going to say, talking about how Black Friday was 5 years ago. Yeah, unbelievably, this episode was almost 10 years ago because it was 2008.
This is the first time Obama got elected.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We expect a change.
And it's when people really started to catch on of like, oh, wow, all they do is stay up really all night on Tuesday, and then they finish the episode at like noon on Wednesday before it airs. Because it's just like, how did they know? Oh, they didn't. They just didn't start working until after the election returns came in.
Yeah, that's a great point because it's like you forget that they're making a lot of the plot line after, and the fact that it was so. I think that they could have still done the whole robbery even before, but it just seemed even funnier knowing that it was the Obamas that came out victorious. So I just love this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for this one, they were definitely planning that Obama was going to win, and they, whereas for this most recent election, they just got screwed. The whole season got blown, and they had a whole thing planned. We were going to see a lot of what Bill Clinton as the first gentleman, and even though we saw a little of that, this one they were like, oh yeah, he's totally going to win.
Yeah.
So,
good point.
yeah.
Well, good for him. About last night is quite funny and another great Randy episode. Well, mine heads in a different direction. This is season 15. It's the premiere episode of season 15. It's back in if you kind of think about it, when the first iPad really came out. Has it been that long? It's back when Steve Jobs was still alive, and with a number of things kind of come to head here. Number one, the fact that everyone, of course, reads all the iTunes agreements every time they send an update, which is every single night.
Absolutely.
And Kyle is the only person who doesn't actually read the terms. Hence, he has agreed that he will have his mouth sewn to the ass of another human being. And what reverses this is, of course, only the geniuses, the council of the geniuses. But I love it. It's just, in terms of pure comedy of social commentary, as well as just dumb, crude humor, it's amazing. And of course, you have Cartman just demanding that he have an iPad, even though he carries around like a box that looks like an iPad. And then when he gets found out, of course, he needs an iPad. And then he tells his mom, listen, next time you do this to me, buy me dinner because I like to eat before I get fucked.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh, my gosh, if he was my child.
This is
Please
how hard
finish
you would...
that.
I would kill him.
Oh, my God.
Please buy him an iPad before you kill him.
I would, and then I would bury him with it.
There you go.
I feel like that's probably what Mrs. Cartman sounded like before she had a kid. So...
It's my baby Cartman.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Cartman, your choice, Christian, has a lot of Cartman in your pick, too.
The sissy is indeed when Eric, because we're close like that, when Eric decides that he just puts a bow on and he becomes transginger, and he wants to use the girls' restroom. And the best part of this, and this is 4 years ago now. And yet, it's just sort of the whole idea is that, everybody's like, oh, come on, he's so full of shit, Eric Cartman. But,
well, literally.
Literally. Mr. Garrison points out, it's just like, no, there's just going to be too much scandal. Like, that's how this was building, these sort of issues of, kids identifying as, I'm totally a transgender. And, so he needs to get his own bathroom. And, of course... Wendy gets involved because whenever anything and I love the picture we have right now of gender bending Wendy there. But anyway, and the most important, and another great Randy episode is indeed this one because it's not the main plot, but Randy does indeed tell Stan that he is Lord, and the singing voice of Lord in this episode, Steph.
Randy.
No.
Lord.
Sia is
in this episode?
Is the singing voice of Lord in this episode.
Yeah.
I thought you meant on the show.
Yeah,
No. I'm just saying in this episode called The Sissy. Yeah, that's...
Ooh, that's a good...
It's a little trivia there.
Yeah.
Unless Wikipedia lied to me. No. But anyway, I don't know. So the whole like Lord storyline has it's just so preposterous. I've always been a big fan of it, but this is just pure Cartman, and I know that in a few weeks we're going to do a Cartman episode, and I wanted to use this one there.
Tease them. Tease them.
Did this one make my list?
Find out in a few weeks.
Yeah. Anyway, this is I don't know. So I think that you really just get to see the lengths that Cartman will go to, and he just doesn't care about what's important to anyone. He doesn't care about anyone else. He just wants to take a shit in his own bathroom, which I respect.
Yeah.
You know, if given a choice, don't we all?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
There's a certain engineer I know here that he would certainly prefer every now and then.
There's a certain engineer that I had to wait to start a show once because that engineer, who will remain nameless, had to, in fact, do that. But anyway, speaking of so much shit that is built up, Steph, what's your next pick?
My number 2, no pun intended. Pun intended.
Come on.
Is Black Friday.
What?
Yeah.
That was on my list.
No one saw that coming.
Yeah, you gave a lot of great details. I'm just going to add on to it. I love the Game of Thrones references. I felt like this episode, and I rewatched it, and I loved it the first time I watched it, but it just has so many good one-liners. They do such a good job of having like 3 different clans. They have the Game of Thrones, the Star Trek nerds,
Yes.
and Don't Touch Me Elmos. And it's exactly how people act at Black Friday. I avoid that like the plague.
What was it, the Red Reuben? They were at the Red Reuben, right?
I believe they were, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
Remember, because this is the 3rd and final episode. And not to spoil Game of Thrones for anybody, but sorry if you don't know.
Yes,
the Red Wedding at the Red Reuben.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I love that Kenny is Lady McCormick and turns into the princess at the end of this, and his rat is everything. We talked about this earlier. My favorite Randy quote in this episode was when he says, "Winter's coming, Sharon, and I'm a sneaky little bee, buzz, buzz." And he kept saying buzz, buzz throughout the episode. Great with AfterBuzz and great on the episode. Fun little fact that this was when Elmo, the voice of Elmo, was being accused of underage sex abuse. So it went hand in hand with that grossity. But I just love this episode. Great job of depicting how awful humans can be during this time.
Which is a perfect segue into my number 2 pick. Only through my own sheer narcissism, and I'll explain what that means later when I do my number 1 pick, did this become number 2. Because I always I always want to help the world, but me first. So my number 2 pick, though, helps the world because James Cameron helps the world. And what I mean by that is he raised the bar for everybody. He raised the standard. You see, this is a great episode from season 16, episode 9, where Cartman wants to get a rascal. This is at the height of Honey Boo Boo. And eventually Cartman competes against Honey Boo Boo for TV ratings, and then quite literally. And what happens is we all realize that we've sunk. We didn't have a term for it, but we went to the sunken place, essentially. Now we have a term for it. And the only man that can really save us is James Cameron. Now, Anthony, you are in the booth. You are an engineer that we love. Not like the other people we were referencing.
No.
Please read the James Cameron song.
Here? Okay. James Cameron doesn't do what James Cameron does for James Cameron. James Cameron does what James Cameron does because James Cameron is James Cameron. James Cameron from South Park.
There you go. This is the best line ever. He doesn't do it. He is James Cameron. And only he can raise the bar.
I feel like that's a prayer.
It is indeed. And we can only hope for Avatar 2.
I love Avatar.
2, 3, and 4. Apparently, he's been working on them for like 10 years. And
They're coming out soon.
Bring it.
one of these days.
They're coming out.
Steph, you're the one who asked for it, which makes sense.
I'm a huge Avatar fan.
Well, so Avatar, Jar Jar Binks. What else that sucks do you like?
I don't even. How do you? I'm not even. I'll talk to you after this, Christian.
All right. Well, let's get to
Sounds
the.
like a promise. We'll get to
Let's
our
raise the bar here. I just said James Cameron raised the bar. Now you guys are lowering this piece
did
of
lower the
bar
bar.
ever. So let's bring it back up. Honorable mentions.
My honorable mention may or may not show up again here. I like to think of this episode as a taco inside of a taco, inside of a Taco Bell, inside of a KFC, within a mall, inside of a dream. It is indeed in sheepshin. And I don't know, I just love any time that they are able to structure an episode around a movie that obviously so many people were talking about at the time. I still don't quite understand Inception, but I definitely nodded my head a lot when I would talk to people about it, and it made me feel okay for being so stupid. But I don't know. There's so many things in here. The sheep hoarder. And
Yes, you are hurting sheep by hoarding them.
by hoarding them. And Woodsy Owl, who
Oh my gosh.
So there's just a little bit of everything in here, and I just wanted to sort of focus on the idea of really how this episode of our show is actually just inside of another episode, inside of another episode. It'll feel like it's one of 4 episodes that are all happening at once.
Instead of Taco Bell taco,
Exactly.
which is just as nutritious as we are.
Hey, we're delicious. And we make our own gravy. Speaking of which, Steph,
Okay. My honorable mention is the Coon from season 13, episode 2. This character is just absolutely legendary. It's obviously Cartman's alter ego, and he goes around basically as the town's Batman, being a vigilante who tries to rid the town of evil. And it's his lines as his alter ego are just so well written. I love his costume in this, and it continued to develop into a movie. So I'm just so thankful for the Coon.
Well, it's tough because no one saw the piece of crap. Remember the spirit or whatever the hell it was called?
yeah, and
That's what they're kind of making fun of in this version of the Coon, and it gets lost because no one saw that movie because it's god awful.
but that's the beauty of Trey and Matt is that they don't care that nobody saw it.
Yeah.
They saw it and they're like, oh my god, this is so bad.
Samuel L. Jackson is in that movie. Just so you are all aware.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of, like Steph mentioned Batman, and there's like some Watchmen stuff in there for sure. But yeah, the idea that the spirit is really the structure for the episode is pretty amazing.
Indeed. And that's all I remember from that movie. All right, my honorable mention. It's summertime right now when we're taping this. And so I thought a great honorable mention would be Crippled Summer. Because we have 2 amazing storylines happening at the same time. We have one of my favorite characters of Towley, as well as my other favorite character, Mimsy.
Mimsy!
Done to the backdrop of intervention, where, of course, Towley is getting high off of canned air. Anybody need their dick sucked by a towel?
Oh my god.
And of course, this whole thing that got started years ago as a small little joke of Nimsy wanting to be better than Jimmy, it just gets blown up through basically Camp Tartica. And, we live in a more PC culture. I don't know if this would totally fly, but then again, it's Matt and Trey. I don't think they would ever care. And this was funny. And they ripped off so many wonderful characters. There's a great graphic that we have. If in doubt, just look up Crippled Summer on Google South Park, and it will show a comparison of all the people they sort of whipped off. Elmer, all these various characters. And they just do a great job with it. And just so many great lines here in the AfterBuzz halls, we always quote like, "You told me to switch the map, so I switched the map. So I switched the map, switched the map."
Oh, yeah.
And we always know what that means. So, just a great all-around episode. Check it out. All right, this is for all the marbles. I don't know why. It just is.
Because we have too many damn marbles and somebody needs to take them.
That's right. And in fact, you guys share both your number one picks. So would you guys?
Twinsies.
I'm just glad that Steph picked.
Something in the seasons
Oh,
selected.
yes, yeah.
I was waiting for that comment because if you guys don't remember, the last time we did this, it was seasons 1 through 10, and I picked.
And she picked an episode of Family Guy. She didn't even pick the right show.
Was it 2 or 3 of the episodes I
You
picked?
picked 2 episodes that were from seasons 11,
Forgot about
Season
that.
11 was epic.
and this
mean,
also happens to be from season
11.
11.
Imagination Land. And honestly, even if you don't deal with any of the things that happen in here, just the sheer number of licensed characters that appear, and again, this is a trilogy that I referenced earlier, just the sheer number of them, and they don't do like knockoff versions. They call them by their character. They look like they're supposed to. I still don't even understand how they did all the rights and clearances on that. Just it was just so much fun. Like right here is a perfect example for those watching on YouTube. You've got Stormtroopers and Predator and Jason Voorhees and Frankenstein, just everything.
War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds. See, look at that. And but the Imagination song is definitely a big takeaway from this. And I just this is only season 11, but at this point I was just like, man, they're this many years in and they're still able to turn out something that's this good. And I would say that continues through seasons 11 through 20. But this was just, I couldn't believe after a decade they were able to tell a story on this scope. And apparently they were going to try and do it as, I don't know if it was going to be a feature that would be out in the theaters. I think that they were going to do it more as like a movie, which eventually they issued it on DVD that way. But I don't know. This is just sort of one of the more epic. Anytime that you can get Mel Gibson and M. Night Shyamalan into a story, I am all on board. And of course, Michael Bay. But anyway, and because she just wants to be me so bad. Hey, Steph, what was your number one choice?
Well, yeah, because I want to be you. Epic was the perfect word to describe this episode and the trilogy in general. It has every character you could want. And the fact that the premise was set on Cartman telling all the guys that there's a leprechaun, and if he's wrong, that Stan... Kyle has to suck his balls and takes him to court for it and actually wins.
Balls.
And is like going on this rampage and so upset that he's gonna get that he needs what he wants, and then the FBI or the CIA comes and swoops him to find Butters, who's the only one stuck in Imagination Land, is insane. And the fact that they played on the whole Taliban and terror, or I don't know if it was Taliban in particular, but terrorists was just insanely epic. And I didn't know that they actually officially released it like that.
Yeah,
I have it.
Can I borrow?
I have that too. Oh,
My tablet?
borrow Phil's. I have a DVD because I'm old. And yeah, they cut all 3 of them together. And there's actually a little bit, I don't know how many more minutes there are, but there's a little bit more than there were when the 3 episodes aired separately.
And I love the premise. So basically there's a land where any character we've ever thought about, author, movies, TV shows, whatever, they make it to Imagination Land. It's like Neil Gaiman's American Gods times 12. Because 12.
Definitely 12.
And I just love that. And, as much, they take Cartman and his need to get his nuts sacked. His nuts sacked. No, his nuts
His
sucked.
nut sack sucked.
Or his sack nutted.
Exactly.
The second part of it was our imaginations are running wild, and that just became the joke. And it's like, what does that mean? It just means what it means. It means nothing. Speaking of that, back to Inception. I'll say it this: you've said a lot of great things, but we get a young Mr. Mackey. Like and we it's called regression therapy. The whole reason why we go into these dreams of Mr. Mackey is regression therapy. And eventually, as Stan learns, he's like, you know what? I'm just not going to hoard. I don't need to regress into my memory. I don't want to know. I'm just not going to be a hoarder. I was a huge fan of Inception, and this just, when I saw this episode of South Park, it just blew my mind. So
Did it make you like Inception more or less or the same?
more?
More.
Listen, I'm one of those people that, like, everyone gets upset when South Park makes fun of them. Like, please make fun of me.
Yeah, that's how
You
you
have
know you're
arrived.
on. It's like being in an Eminem song.
Absolutely. And so I have no problem with them making fun of it.
Yeah.
To me, it's amazing. You know, I don't get offended by it. Like, I realize when you can take something and just put in stupidity like they did and just expose it for, like, kind of its dumb elements, I'm all for it. I don't care. So, well, that wraps up the best episodes from seasons 11 all the way to 20. Unless, Steph, you have...
Do you have any more episodes from season 11?
Honestly, a lot. So maybe we should devote a whole episode to
just
season 11.
That makes sense, actually.
Fair enough.
be all
Well,
on
one
board
day
for that.
maybe we will. We teased it a little bit midway through the show, but we are going to do the best Cartman episodes in due time, so definitely check that out. And one of the ways you can check that out is by subscribing. We produce various after shows. This one happens to be on our animation channel. Right, Anthony?
Yes.
Don't lie to me.
Animation.
Yeah, it's animation.
Yeah. Said so confidently.
He's like, yeah, animation?
Well, we also have dramas, reality TV shows, sci-fi, all that great stuff. Comedy is another one. So whatever your favorite genre, we have it for you. Subscribe to the various YouTube channels, but definitely subscribe to this one so that way you get shows like Archer, South Park, you name it, we got it, baby. No other network is more dedicated to you, the super fan of TV, than us, AfterBuzz TV. In the meantime, thank you guys for joining us. We've only got a couple more weeks before we hit seasons 22. Can you believe that? We started this journey so long ago, and we here.
I can't wait.
Yeah, where have you been? I don't know, but us, we're right here. We've just been waiting for, almost a year. It's all right. We'll wait it out. It's cool.
We're here every day, waiting
Yeah.
till the next Wednesday to do the show, and
We just
always
happen to
here.
do this once in a while. Yeah.
All right. In the meantime, you can interact with @Steph Sabraw. Did I get that right?
Yes, on Instagram and Twitter.
And @Christian DMZ for Christian.
That is true. That is where I can be found.
So use your imaginations. Get on over to the Twitter sphere or the good old Instagrams, and you can see. Oh my goodness, so much happening.
I'm in
Cost of a
imagination
microphone.
land.
Imagination.
For those not watching, Steph hit her mic, which is super important to make sure I shared with you guys. In the meantime, @TonyBTony_ in the booth. Thank you as always. We've got lots of fun stuff coming up before the season 22 premiere. Let us know your comments. We'll see you next time. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.